Hey, boomers, do you know how old the 40-hour work week is?
Humans are not meant to work, at least not the way we do today. And if that makes you upset, that means you're brainwashed, and I'm here to help you. Humans have been around for over 300,000 years, and we have spent 95% of that time living in leisure. We basically work 3 hours a day to survive. But in America, it has become very common to work 40 hours or more every week. This concept of spending most of our life working is pretty recent, and there's a couple reasons why it happened. One of the reasons Americans work so much is because of religion, specifically the Pilgrims, who brought their puritanical work ethic to America. When they came to New England in the 17th century, they believed that working hard meant that you were going to go to heaven. Have you ever heard the phrase, idle hands are the devil's work? It's kind of the same concept. Then came the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, and everything in the world changed. Now businesses could make a lot more stuff, and then they just needed people to actually do the work. During this time, the average workday was rough. The average worker was working at least 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. Even little children were working in these very dangerous factories. It became such an issue that the government passed a law called the Factory Act. This required that kids who worked in factory get at least 2 hours of mandatory education a day. Some critics say that the American education system was actually created by industrialists to create an obedient workforce. But as technology and economies were advancing, business leaders realized that they needed a more literate workforce. So the school systems in the 18th and 19th century were built to educate people so that they could be more proficient at work. That's where the whole concept of factory model education comes from. When it comes to millennials versus boomers, it's not in your head. People work a lot more today in 2023 than they did in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. The American worker today works 1,779 hours a year, whereas in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was about 100 hours less. One of the reasons why we work a lot more is because unions are not as strong nowadays. Back in the day, a lot of unions fought for weekends, better working conditions, livable wages, paid time off. People are also working more because everything is costing more. As economies scale, there's more demand for workers to do much more, and sometimes they get paid way less. This is an example of how astronomically expensive things have gotten in the past few years. This data is from late 2020, early 2023. Because our purchasing power is a lot less, a lot more people are working more to try to make basic ends meet. So basically the way we work today is not natural. And the people who benefit from it are the people in charge, the people that run the companies, the people that run our economies. And I think that's why it's really important to watch what happens with the auto worker strike, because they are demanding a 4-day work week while maintaining the same level of pay. I think if they're successful with getting a 4-day work week, we can possibly see other people trying to do the same thing in their industries.